Okay, welcome to another Legacy and Vintage video. This time we've got a Banned and Restricted announcement coming up on, it's November 10th, right? I think, yeah.
Correct.
So joined by Simo and Francis, local Legacy and Vintage aficionados here for this episode.
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourselves quickly?
So I'm Simo, and you might have heard of me in some of the social media platforms and maybe an MTGO as Comix84. I have started playing Magic a long time ago, talking about 1997. Stopped for quite a few years in the early 2000s, start back again in 2012 with Legacy, and I've been playing Legacy since, basically. I'm really, into the Legacy scene and meta game. I will be playing the Eternal Weekend in Europe in a few weeks.
Sounds good. And Francis?
Yeah, I'm Francis. I play on Magic the Gathering Online. My handle is FGC, and yeah, I suppose I've been playing Legacy and Vintage for about 11 years now, and I've played many Eternal Weekends and many more Magic the Gathering Online events, and I suppose I also run proxy Legacy, Vintage, and pre-modern events in London. So lots of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also be at Eternal Weekend Europe, in just under a month. So that's
Right after the ban announcement. So to be
interesting decision on their part to forget that Eternal Weekend was there, and then remember and then move the ban cadence because of probably standard. This really comforting that they know exactly what they're doing with their timings.
Absolutely. So how we're going to structure this, we're going to do Legacy first and then Vintage probably quicker at the end. We're going to start off by talking about kind of what we would like to see happen, each of us, and then kind of a look at what we think actually will happen, and then because this ban announcement is after the North America Eternal Weekend but before Europe and Asia Eternal Weekends, the meta could actually change if they do action some things here, so we might speculate a little bit about how that could actually impact things there if they do what we think is likely. So, Francis, do you want to kick it off with, I guess, some of your ideas? We're going to do Legacy in the first segment of what you would, I guess, if you were in charge, what you would do.
If I was in charge,
If you were in charge.
I think I wouldn't want to be in charge, to be fair. My personal ideal for what Legacy could be, I think we're quite a long way from it now, and I would prefer the critical turn be a higher number, so games take longer on average, or at least take longer to be decided, and I would prefer for games to be more back and forth in terms of the gameplay, as opposed to one person snowballing some sort of advantage. I have, there's a lot of personal problems with modern designs, and so there's quite a long list of cards I would ban to probably slow the format down, but I don't envy the position of the person making those decisions. So I think it's reasonable to consider looking at the top 8 of the North America weekend and seeing how that compares to results from the year preceding it, and talk about probably, I would argue the best cards in the format are decks that play the One Ring, decks that play Cameo, Inquisitive Student. You could argue decks that play Nadu, although that isn't really represented by the numbers in many ways at all. Like, if you're looking at this metagame percentage here, the first Nadu deck is at 4.2%.
Yep.
So
a huge number.
But I think Nadu, people think of as being very strong, and I think it is very strong and perhaps underrated, but it might be more of a secondary concern in that you ban some other things and then Nadu is the best thing to do. Although people worried about that last time as well. So I would look at those sorts of cards and then you could argue that you should be looking at either Entomb or Reanimate, I would guess.
Not both, just
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah, I think banning both seems excessive. And then there's a lot of personal preference things which are a bit probably excessive. Like I don't like playing a Nexus existing. I think that fast mana should have a cost, like life or your land disappearing. Those things have kept Ancient Tomb and City of Traitors in the somewhat acceptable bracket. For example, I think Kozilek's command is quite silly, giving flexibility to colorless decks that historically didn't have good answers to lots of situations, and that's a problem in my mind. Personally, I don't like Orcish Bowmasters specifically because it can kill creatures. I don't mind it punishing the card draw aspect, but blanking like the ability for people to comfortably bring creatures that have 1 toughness.
I do like my 1 toughness creatures. I'd like to play my Harper Recruiters.
Sure. Yeah. So I have lots of opinions past that, but I would say like Cameo and the Ring and I've forgotten now. I was saying something else.
Entomb and one
Entomb or
between Entomb and Reanimate.
Doom Reanimate and maybe Nadu. Those sorts of cards are the ones that I think are most reasonably there. And now I've talked a lot, so I'm going to pass over to Simo.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with you, Francis. Like, I think, looking at numbers, clearly, Reanimator, we could say is an issue. I don't like to use the word issues when I'm talking about, hobbies and magics and everything, but clearly, is a very strong deck. And I think one of the main reason why it is also because it's mixing combo and tempo very, very well. I'm a bit old style, so I like when like the triangle combo, aggro, tempo, and control are quite nicely divided and identifiable. And I think with Reanimator in this moment, this is not happening because it can easily swap between the two, and so you have to fight both sides, both angles, and it becomes very complicated, especially even after sideboard, because naturally you never know exactly what to expect. And the reason, as we were saying, is basically 2 cards. One is Tamio, and the other one is, I'm going to put Entomb there, but I'm going to say why I'm going to say Entomb but not Reanimate. The reason why I'm saying Entomb is because is the card that let them play only 2 big creatures, 1 Atraxa and 1 Archon normally. Whilst Reanimate, it's an incredible card. It costs only 1 mana, Reanimate everything, but you still, you will be forced to play a lot more creature if you want to go for the full Reanimate combo side. If you cut Entomb, so we will have to go with either the old cards draw 2, discard 2. You need a way to find and put creatures into the graveyard. That is not just a 2-turn basically. Bit of a shame because I do like Entomb from a non-creature perspective. That you can put other stuff in the graveyard, but I have the feeling that he was banned in Legacy many years ago, and maybe it's time to cut it again. The other reason why I don't really like too much banning Reanimate is because if you think about curve, like you can still go end of turn or turn 1 and 2, put a creature into the graveyard, untap, play a land, and Reanimate with one of the minions of Reanimation spell that costs 2 mana. I know it's not exactly the same. You go, potentially under days, and there's other few issues there. You can't, go on turn 2 with 2 lands, Entomb and Reanimate, so it's not exactly the same. But from a curve perspective, if we ignore for a second the days issue, it's not really changing that much. And yeah, regarding Tamio, I think like the card is incredible. He's a 1 mana planeswalker. It reminds me of another 1 mana planeswalker that is probably one of the cards that I would not unban. I know this is not going to be a nice opinion. I know there's a strong faction basically asking for Deathrash Shaman to be unbanned. I think the card is incredible, but it also tends to create a lot of soup, 3-4 color soup that looks very, very similar. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two. I thought they do different things and they are different cards and everything, but they're incredibly strong cards. You can put them in different archetypes and they works on their own basically. I agree on the ring. I really like the card, but I like drawing cards, so it is a bit of a kind of like love and hate against it in that sense. It's just an incredible draw engine, and the fact that you basically have on 4 mana that you can play everywhere a card that gives you ancestral recall and time walk basically under 2 turns. It's just nonsense, and it keep drawing your card. And Nadu is a bit of a question mark. I agree with you. I think like most of the people don't like to play against Nadu. Like it's also like a bit of a weird play pattern where you sit there and you see them like going off, and sometimes you just have that kind of feeling they might just fizzle, so I have to stay there and look at them drawing a lot of cards and do a lot of things, and you never know. And that's probably why like there's also like a bit of a repulsion versus that card, at least in my opinion. So I would agree with you. I think these 4 are probably the easiest one to touch if we want to go for a full nice shuffle in Legacy. In my opinion, there's a lot of cards that I would unban, as many people who know me.
What do you want to unban? What's the biggest one?
I mean, there is a big problem that is called reserve list, right? So we have to basically either consider Legacy as an online/proxy only format, and if we go on that route, I think Survival of the Fittest, Aircraft, Bargain could all 3 be easily unbanned, and they're all on the reserve list. I mean, Survival is a 2 mana, do nothing, pass the turn, and then start building stuff. It's a great card, but I mean, considering the speed and how fast Legacy is at the moment, I don't think it's gonna break anything, in my opinion. It will be C play probably, but I don't think it's OP.
I played with. I was around when playing Legacy when Survival was legal back in the day, and I do remember when it got really good there. It was really strong, but it's been a long time since then. I think it'd be okay too.
Yeah, Aircraft. Let's make squirrels. I mean, it's a lovely card. It's nice to combo off with Squirrel Nest, but I don't think it's probably the best things that you could do in Legacy at the moment. Bargain. I mean, naturally, everything that looks like Necro is strong, but if you think about they did print Necro Dominance, and yeah, there is a deck that is like probably tier 2, tier 3 at the moment.
Tier
if you
4.
really want to push it. So Bargain, it costs 2 extra mana, 3 extra mana because it costs 6. I mean, Besiege the Meter is just better. Just close the game way quicker. So I don't think it would be that big of an issue in Legacy. I would probably unban also Frantic Search. And I'm going to put a big asterisk on Mana Drain, in the sense that I am very happy to unban Mana Drain, so a lot of especially control players probably will love it. But Mana Drain plus Ring in Legacy, I think that would be an issue. So I
would
think
have been okay with unbanning Mana Drain a couple months ago, but it's actually a big player in Vintage now. So I don't really, not as interested in a Mana Drain unban now.
I was also thinking that I was a very big proponent of Mana Drain being unbanned, and even just playing it with stock up is kind of crazy in Vintage. And I'm not sure I feel the same as I did once. This is a person. I own 6 Mana Drains, so I am very keen to play with my Mana Drains, but I don't know if it's a good idea now, even if they ban the Ring. Yeah. It's it is interesting how many things could be unbanned, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've also seen the Deathrite Shaman post, and I played that card a lot in Vintage, and that's another one where I think people may have forgotten how powerful that one is. I think that one should stay a Vintage card.
That card's really, really strong. It's like one of the best decks in the format. It's still this. I mean, it's not on the top line here, but Dimir Tempo, I think, would certainly, and similar decks would arise playing Deathrite Shaman again. And I would very happily play Deathrite Shaman in any deck that wants to cast Nadu, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
there just isn't anything close to as good as how strong it is from like 5-color mana dork that grinds out games and is graveyard hate. That's really powerful. It probably would, but it does provide an incentive which isn't really present in the format for maybe slightly grindier games.
Mm-hmm.
All the decks in this top 8, right, apart from Jacob Murray, our savior, all of those decks just want you to be dead, and they all have the potential to end the game on probably turn 2, right? A ring on turn 2, or a Traxxer on turn 2,
Mm-hmm.
or an Illusionist on turn 2 is just the end of the game, like with protection or whatever. Or Mystic Forge can make you force something, or it force checks you definitely on turn 2. So this Loam deck
I love this
is
deck.
quite funny. Like I also love that this is here, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect that the format will look like this
Nope.
anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gonna
Thanks,
say
both.
something provocative.
Okay.
I personally think that Hermit Druid could be a ban in Legacy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Big love for Hermit Druid.
I would play it. I would definitely play it. I've played a lot of Hermit Druid in Vintage, and I would, if it was in Legacy, I would definitely be playing more Legacy than I do now. So
Yeah.
it's a fun one.
It costs 2 less mana than naturally everything that you're doing in Oops at the moment, but at the same time, you have to wait an entire turn to get something out of it.
Unless you give it
So,
haste.
yeah, sure. Potentially, yes. So I think it would be great, but considering how Legacy is going now at the moment, I would not be completely surprised to see Hermit unbanned.
Yeah, I would rather move away from where Legacy is now than like accept that this is the normal and unban Hermit Druid. I think if we are accepting this as the normal, then Hermit Druid is kind of it is kind of just where we're at, I think.
I do think like turn 1 Chrome Mox land Hermit Druid hold with like Days backup would be pretty fun.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I could see it being too good. It's quite a risk. I think it's quite a risky unban. I think Frantic Search and Yawgmoth's Bargain are basically completely free to unban.
I think Frantic Search and Bargain would definitely be some really fun unbans. I'd be curious to see Channel unbanned and see what people would do with it.
I don't know. I think in Legacy that is a curious position. I spent some time building some channel decks for the the Unchained format.
It's a good event, by the way.
Thanks, but you it basically ended up being basically like a Forge deck, right, where you just had channel, and it was like, oh yeah, I can channel Khan Lattice you on turn 1, and I don't have to play any like Emeralds in my deck to combo.
How did you get the green mana in that deck for it?
I was playing Elvish Spirit Guides and Lotus Petal.
Okay.
And then, whatever, green lands. But it was a different mana base to the obviously the Mystic Forge deck. I think that that deck didn't win that event. Shockingly, the finals of that event were Treasure Cruise versus Psychic Frog. I think it was. It was something. Oh, it wasn't. It was like. Oh, it was Treasure Cruise versus Luris. We had one unbanned card in every deck, and that was the final. So maybe that says something about what the actual good cards are. Maybe Channel is fine, but I think Frantic Search being not on the reserve list, and also like very underpowered. You have to have 3 land drops in play. That's already quite a lot. So.
Yeah, getting the
I think
turn
that's kind of
3s
free. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Unless you play it with Exploration or something. But
do we want to transition now to what we actually think? If we were going at our crystal ball, what we would guess that WotC actually does. So over the last year or so, they've only banned one thing usually in Legacy every time, right? And it's usually been something from Reanimator. So we had in the last thing was Troll, right? That was the last
They
one.
also banned sewing Microspawn in the last
Yep.
announcement.
Oh, and Slim Micos, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm very happy to forget about sewing Microspawn. That's, yeah, and then the previous one was Frog plus Vexing Warble.
Oh, it was always 2, wasn't it? Okay.
Well, the last two
Yeah,
were. I wouldn't, you know, give WotC the credit of having any consistency with their behavior, but you know.
So what do you think is the, if you had to speculate here, the most likely legacy decision on November 10th?
Big question.
Crystal ball.
Yeah, crystal ball. They're usually, as we were saying, they're not exactly, you know, splashing bans here and there. So if, and this is I think still a big if, they're doing something, they will potentially touch either Entomb or Tamiya. I don't even think they're gonna ban both. This is my prediction.
My guess is just Tamio. That's what I'm thinking.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I was assuming that they would change something out of Forge. I have the ring quite high on my list of things that will get banned.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe the ring, and it's hard to decide, right? Like, I think you want to ban something out of Reanimator. Maybe that card should be Tamio. Maybe that card should be Entomb. Though they've said they are specifically not interested in banning Entomb. Like they did
It was on their like little
a panel or
webinar
something
thing,
about it. Yeah, where they like said, if we ban anything, it's not going to be Entomb. I think so. That's so if we're going by that, then Reanimate. But I agree with Timo's points from earlier. Like banning Entomb is what means that you can play such a tight combo package in your otherwise like bunch of fair cards deck.
I think Entomb's the stronger card. I agree with that.
It's the stronger card structurally.
Yeah.
Like Reanimate lets you cheat the mana, right? That's the
Because
like
there's a
one
bunch
mana
of 2
plus
mana
7 mana.
Reanimator kind of cards, but Reanimate's the only 1 mana one, I think.
It is, and it has a real cost. Well, the real cost was much more prevalent when you were playing with Grizzlebrand, another Traxer, which is that you lose 8 life when you reanimate Grizzlebrand, and then for it to draw any cards, you have to pay 7 more life. So previously, you'd be at whatever 5 if you reanimated your Grizzlebrand and drew 7, and that was if you started at 20. Atraxa lets you draw cards without paying life and has vigilance, so you can attack and block and gain all the life back in all the combats. Whereas previously you could kind of race Grizzlebrand by just having a load of creatures, so they couldn't attack you, and maybe you kill the creature when they block, whatever. But Atraxa is basically guaranteed plus 14 life every cycle, which if you're attacking, that is.
So I said just Tamio. Francis, you're thinking Reanimate, Tamio, and the One Ring?
Ring. I think that's most likely according to like how they've talked about it. I don't know. They've not mentioned Tamio at all. I think it. So I think I would probably say Reanimate and the One Ring
Reanimate
according
and the
to
One
how
Ring,
they've
okay.
spoken. Yeah. Like if I think that's what's most likely for them to actually do. Yeah.
And Simo, just to reiterate here, what was your final pick there?
Yeah, I will say. I mean, let's go with Tamio. I think I'd go with Tamio. I'm not sure for the One Ring also because we have the Hobbit coming out next year. I know technically we should not ban run ban based on sets, but we have the last Lord of the Rings set coming. So
It might get
question
the
mark,
axe
question
after
mark,
Hobbit.
question mark.
That's true. So
That's
yeah, there's also we haven't acknowledged the potential that they just don't do anything.
This is true.
yeah.
That's obviously a possibility. They could just hit Vivi. Call it a day.
In a way, considering that the Eternal Weekend in the US was with this ban list, we could argue that it would be nice to have the same ban list for all 3.
So I think that's the
Eternal
next
Weekends.
question here. How do you both feel about having a sizable meta shakeup in between the two, I guess in between, 2 of the Eternal Weekends? Do you think it's okay, or?
I can go first. So I think I'm gonna give you two answers: the like personal answer based on my feelings, and the answer that is more like logical. I'll try to keep it short, but based on my feelings, I don't like it. Like I feel like Eternal Weekend should be basically the same event for all the three different regions, because in a way, like it's a sort of one-off that we have during the year. We don't have GPs anymore, so it would be nice to give everyone the same kind of experience. At the same time, if the experience is bad, one could argue, why not fix it for the others? Fair enough. On the other hand, and also I think like I know that they did have anticipate the ban date, the announcement date. Was it 2 weeks, I think, earlier than what it usually was? Was literally the Monday before, right, of the Tonight Week in Europe.
Yes.
So it is better. That said, we're not talking about 3 months earlier, so it's still a quite short time considering that people will have to travel and sort out things and potentially look for other cards and test the decks. And I know that we have MTGO that helps naturally, so that simplify all of this process. But still, there's a lot of things that potentially, one of the deck could literally become unplayable, and so you have to sort of dig for a substitution at relatively last minute. This is my personal opinion. On the other end, I do understand that it's complicated in the sense that if you think about also the amount of release that they're doing at the moment, without going into what's right and what's wrong, but next year we're going to have like 7 release, right, in for standard.
Yep.
That's been discussed a lot. So it's basically more than a release every. You have a release every 2 months and less. So you're definitely going to have
standard sets.
Yeah, exactly. So naturally, we know that normally there's not a huge impact on Legacy, but that was more the norm years and years ago. We know that the level of like the cards that they're printing they're stronger and stronger. So there's always more and more chances to have something that is gonna randomly impact Legacy. So in that sense, like naturally, even the ban list has to be a bit more less tied to when the tournaments are, and more about we need to adjust what we have to adjust. But at the same time, they want to go in the other direction, that is like having proper fixed dates. So it is a very difficult situation probably between all of these, a lot of like balls to juggle that I don't know exactly what the right answer is. Personally, I would have preferred to have it done everything in September before everything was like in the calendar, in a sense, like that would have been my preference. But they tend to be a bit not that fast in doing stuff in Legacy, at least like for the last few years that's been the case. So I'm not surprised.
Anything to add to that, Francis? Or?
I mean, I remember specifically like when they started releasing more sets and higher power sets like 5 years ago or whatever it was, that they did say, oh, we'll have to increase our ban frequency and attention on the ban list to accommodate that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's happened. I think they've actually got worse.
I agree.
At approaching their ban restricted. Like it feels like the people who are choosing to put out more sets have very little care about the integrity and playability of the game. And I'd love to be proven wrong on that, but there is no evidence to say otherwise at the moment.
Yeah.
And that means I think the things that, like what Simo said, where you can't ban the One Ring before the Hobbit, I think is way more likely to be true than them actually improving their methodology with bans, which is very disappointing. As to how, I think, what I think about them changing the format between events, I think the format's pretty miserable. It's very, very boring in terms of pre-event choices. I think if you're not playing a One Ring deck, a Tameo deck, or a I mean, really, the Nadu decks are also Tamio decks. So if you're not playing the One Ring or Tamio, I think you are doing this wrong.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty clear. And like, if you want to win, and like Eternal Weekend for a lot of people is about trying to do well. So the events I would expect to be majority of those cards, and that's really uninteresting. And then most of the games, because of the way that these shells are compressed, end really quickly. So the gameplay is also not great. So I don't think it's worth trying to have some sort of all the events are consistent with each other. I would rather they just made changes because I'm really bored and fed up with it.
Yeah, I would echo that. I'd be very happy if they made some changes and create some excitement going into Eternal Weekend. I think it would actually. I know obviously some people are gonna be unhappy, but my own personal opinion is that I would try and do something, literally anything, going into Eternal Weekend to create some excitement would be my approach.
I think they should have done something in whenever it was, in March or whatever, and then they decided to widen their ban cadence. I don't know why, and then like it just seemed, and they didn't do anything. Just loads of horrible choices. So I don't. It feels like different parts of the WotC brain just can't talk to each other properly, or the part that's talking to us can't tell us what the decisions actually are, because the decisions are we don't care.
Yeah.
Which is pretty miserable. This week I chose to play Pioneer because it was which is the same night as Legacy.
That's still a format.
Well, there were like 12 people.
Okay, not bad.
At Dark Sphere, I played Pioneer. It was really fun. It was really interesting. Everybody played different decks. I had a good time, and I wish Legacy could be a diverse and enjoyable experience, I suppose.
All right, so on to our next section then. Hypothetically, we'll start with Francis's ideas here, and then so let's say between now and Eternal Weekend, we've got the Avatar set dropping, and let's say they ban Reanimate and they ban the One Ring. As we can see on this list here, number 1 in Legacy North America is a 1/4 One Ring deck. It's a key card here.
Yeah.
It's also in, 2 other spots in the top 8. Blue Black Reanimator had 3 spots in the top 8, playing the Reanimate here. Does Blue Black Reanimator survive? I think that's the biggest question there, if they hit Reanimate.
I think yes. I think Mystic Forge is likely
gone.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how that works without the One Ring. There are so many cards, there are loads of keys in the deck, and it gives you protection. I think that's clearly some sort of end for that deck. It might not be at least in this iteration, it would take a while for them to fix it if they did.
Mm-hmm.
The Dimir Reanimator deck, I think, would it continue to exist, and I think there would just be a Dimir Tempo Reanimator deck playing 4 Animate Dead.
Okay.
I think that would
plays
be
1, so you would take out the 3 Reanimates and put them over here.
Yeah, just play 4 Animate Dead. I think that would be certainly a playable deck. To clarify, the reason I'm saying they are banning Reanimate and not Entomb or Tamio is because that's their suggested action on previous discussions that they've shared with us. I think also Tamio would basically take over the format. This would continue being a Tamio deck. The Mystic Forge deck not being present, I think a lot more people would just play other Tempo and Breakfast builds, and they would all play Tamio, which isn't fun either, but that's what I can see happening. I'm not very positive about this. I'm sorry. I should be more cheery.
Shimo, what do you think? If they hit Reanimate and the Ring, what would you be suggesting to people to play?
I'm basically echoing Francis in these. I think the Ring is basically the glue of the Mystic Forge deck. The Mystic Forge deck has a lot of still strong cards. Naturally, Karn is a strong card. Mystic Forge is a strong card. But the Ring is the one that makes everything works in that sense, because it makes you draw a card, re-get your cards in hand, and is the easiest one to, basically, even if they counter your first must counter card. Let's say you play card, and then you have the ring, and you refill your hand, and everything starts again. That's how the deck basically gain consistency. So I think that would be huge for them. But as Francis was saying, for Reanimator, if you ban just Reanimate, I think the deck was still absolutely still playable and absolutely still like a tier 1 deck. We discussed this already. I think like they will have to go deeper and ban the 3-4 cards that we mentioned. And at that point, I would probably suggest to play Blue-Red Delver.
Fair enough.
But it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I would agree. That's like, I think the format, if they end up banning everything we've discussed, the format then once again coalesces around tempo.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't ban Nadu, there would definitely be some sort of Nadu-based mid-range shell. If they also ban Nadu, then you end up with tempo, and I think the format then kind of gets a kind of a real restart, right? Like all of the main players at the moment get reset, and tempo continues to exist and is still really good, and that's cool.
Is Roland Chang the top tempo player from the event? It looks
I
like.
can't remember if he was playing. He's not playing Tamiya, right? So you'd end up playing this, and I think this is really good. I played something very similar at the European Legacy Masters event. I played like Corey Steelcutter, Delver Secrets, aggro, like Delver, and I felt very strongly that it was a good choice. So like, but it's a traditionally powerful deck and holds to a bunch of cards, and like Aragoyf is a real pain, for example, and that's like classic Magic, having a big lifelink creature being good against the red aggro deck, and it's like, and you have to get to like turn 5 or 6 for that to start being
that's pretty fun
important.
Magic though. I mean, Blue-Red Delver against the
exactly.
3-mana Barrowglaive. That's good clean Magic there in my opinion.
I agree. I think that's completely fine for what sorts of things can happen in a format. And then once that's like the stock place to be again, then the format gets kind of a reset, and people can start trying to think of different ways to attack it, and eventually you end up with another like stale situation. But like that's the fun part of Legacy, like that process of changing. So
yeah, I agree. I like the periods of change. I think they've always been, in my opinion, the most fun times to be playing Legacy.
Yeah,
when things are up in the air.
Sure, I would agree. Yeah.
All right. Any last comments there before we wrap up the Legacy section?
I really hope they make a change. Basically, I think it is like kind of desperate at this point. So, yeah.
I agree. Just to say that it's funny how we didn't mention anything regarding Oops. That for months has been
There's a non-zero chance the only deck that gets hit by Oops, right?
That'll be quite funny, yeah. If they just banned Balustrade Spy and then it's like didn't talk about anything else. Yeah,
the decision was clearly made 5 months ago and nobody has updated it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, sorry guys, we locked this in.
That would be
reasoning. Happy now? Question mark.
We finally banned Oops. I hope everyone's happy.
Yes. No.
All right, so we're going to do a probably shorter section here on Vintage. I think general consensus is that Vintage is pretty healthy at the moment in general. I've got my own opinions, and hopefully you have some opinions as well. But here's the actual, the metagame overview here from the last 30 days on Goldfish. You can see variety of Luris decks, Dredge, Mono White Initiative, which won Eternal Weekend in North America, and a few other decks as well. So I guess I'll start with both of you before I chime in here. So going back to the beginning here then, you're in charge here. You get to make the decision. What would you restrict or unrestrict, Blue sky.
You want to go ahead, Simo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I mean, as you guys already know, like, I don't play Vintage very often. But I did, follow the metagame, follow the
Most
Eternal
people don't
Weekend.
play vintage very often. That's okay.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah. I find the format quite entertaining, and it seems relatively balanced especially from a spectator perspective. My guess the only question mark would be, there's a lot of lures, but you can't really solve the lures problem. Like we know that vintage is about restriction, not really about bans. It doesn't fit any of the ban.
Fun fact: Lurgus was banned for a while in vintage after it came out before they changed. So when the companions first came out, you didn't have that 3 mana attacks. You could just like play the companion from the command or companion zone, whatever it's called. And at that point, they actually did
Yeah.
ban Lurgus, and they only
I-
unbanned it after they made this whole tax change thing.
I try to think at that like period in time as a sort of mistaken dark era in general for the entire Magic, for all the reason that we all know. So I sort of don't even consider the fact that there was a moment in time where the companion rule was the original one. But yes, you're right. Yeah, it still. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
would you put it in the ban list for? I don't know. It doesn't feel like, to me, at least from what I've seen, it doesn't feel like a good reason. There are a few cards in the list that I'm wondering if they should still be restricted. I was thinking the first one I had in mind was Gush, for instance. I mean, it's a great card, but is it really that impactful in the way that if you go for the four off, is going to break vintage? I don't know. That's the first one that I have in mind. But to me, yeah, it looks all relatively balanced. So it's one of those things that probably better not to play too much with the toy.
If
With
it's
the
not
risk of
broken, don't
breaking
fix
it,
it, kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
So yes, that's my opinion.
Fair enough, Francis.
Sure. So, yeah, the more interesting side of this, I think, is the unrestriction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would unrestrict Gush. Thinking about it, Doomsday with 4 Gush seems quite
Good.
effective. But yeah, I think
Maybe you hit Doomsday restricted, then you can just play Fastbond Gush, and that will be fun.
I used to do that. That was really fun. I played a lot of 4 Gush Fastbond decks. 9 years ago now or something. That was good time. I think you could probably unrestrict Imperial Seal for sure.
Mhm.
That doesn't seem to do very much. Again, like, are you playing it in Doomsday? I don't actually think you are, really. Like, it's mostly just a blue deck, and then you have this combo kill, and you have a very compact mana base. And playing more black cards, I don't know if that solves. I don't know if that contributes where you want to be. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I think I'm actually just looking at the list now. But the list is pretty good. Oh, I suppose, yes. There has been some discussion of unrestricting cards that cost 3 or more mana, assuming that you aren't going to get rid of lures. So unrestricting Narset and unrestricting Monastery Mentor.
Yep.
Are 2 examples that I've seen suggested. And I kind of like both of those, actually. I think that that's a cool take on, like, because Lurrus is a huge incentive to play a fair deck.
Yes.
But once it is present, it makes it very difficult to play any fair deck without Lurrus.
Right.
So you have to give real incentives to the decks that aren't playing Lurrus. In my opinion, like, I don't think
agree.
I've played a non-Lurrus deck since it was reintroduced, except for that Nadu ring.
Just looking
deck.
at the top decks here, the reasons to not play Lurrus are
Initiative creatures.
initiative creatures and Archon of Emeria. The card Bazaar of Baghdad, which is also quite good. The card Oath of Druid with Atraxa, which is quite good, and the card Mishra's Workshop. And even Doomsday here, like, Reed Duke
And
thinks this should be a Luris deck and plays it as a Luris deck, so even
I
Doomsday
think,
could have this little cat picture.
yeah, you could unrestrict maybe Thorn. I think that would be fine. I don't know if that's like right. Like Sphere Shops exists here
Mm-hmm.
again, but I don't know if that's actually Raker plus Sphere. But it does say Sphere of Resistance at the top of that list.
This
So I
one
don't
actually
know.
is Sphere. The Goldfish
Oh, okay.
is Raker's actually struggling a little bit. It's actually down here.
Ooh,
I
Raker's
know.
not a real thing. Okay. Yeah, I think for Luris, I would just ban it. I'm very, very bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, it just kind of dominates like deck building and prevents you from playing with lots of the cards that are legal in Vintage and that are fun because they aren't as efficient as playing with Luris. Like in my mind, Vintage for some part is about playing with Tinker and is about playing with whatever other 3 mana plus cards
Mm-hmm.
to some degree, which you can only play in Vintage, and Luris prevents that. Like it used to be, Luris would be whatever Jeskai, and
I remember that, yeah.
yeah, like fair Jeskai, and I think that for a long time that was like the only Luris deck.
Yeah.
And then people started being like, wait, we can put this in combo decks, and wait, we can put this in whatever Breach or Vault Key or PO or, and then they printed Psychic Frog and Orcish Bowmasters, and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we now have like looking at this 4 different variants of Luris, and like that doesn't go the other way. You don't end up with less Luris, I would guess, ever. So I would probably ban it just because it's feels a bit like a plague in the format. But I think as to the gameplay, not
Mm-hmm.
just the deck building, the gameplay is excellent.
Yeah.
I love the way Vintage plays at the moment. It's really fun and engaging.
Luris really
and so
slows
yeah.
down the format in the games where it's present, which I think is like
does.
the big check mark in Luris's favor.
Yeah, I think the gameplay, like, a lot of the games are really exciting, and Luris provides an incentive to play grindy longer games.
Mm-hmm.
I would simply prefer the grindy longer games to all be a bit different, whereas at the moment they are basically all Luris of the Dream Den plus some bauble that you have in your graveyard or your Thundertrap Trainer or whatever. But if that's the tax you have to pay, then maybe that's good. I essentially, yeah.
I'm
I
on the
wouldn't
fence.
actually-
I'm on the fence on Luris. Like some days I want it
Yeah.
gone. Some days I play against Jewel Shops twice, and then I don't know Oath of Druids, and I'm like, actually, Luris is fine. So it kind of depends
Yeah.
on my day there. It's not a B and R thing, but what I really would like them to do is to print more companions just to have some competition for Luris, or something like you said, unrestrict Mentor or Narset or something. I'd prefer to give Luris more like legitimate competition than to ban it. But I wouldn't be sad if it got banned. Is kind of how I feel.
I think I would prefer to try unrestrict Mental Narset
Mhm.
before we try ban Luris. If it was me making choices, I
Yeah.
think that's what I would do. But I don't think it's likely. Well, I don't want to jump the gun. You carry on with your interview, I guess. But
They keep mentioning it. They have their eye on it. They always have their eye on Luris. I think in every
Yeah.
announcement they say that, but I don't think they have any need to pull the trigger. I think if they do anything for I guess going on to the next segment here on what's realistic is, I don't think they'll do anything for Vintage. I think generally the community thinks it's in a good place, and I'm reasonably in agreement with that. So I think that if you're preparing for Eternal Weekend and you're going to play Vintage, you're pretty safe. I'd be shocked, to be honest, if they banned anything. I would like a unrestriction on channel, but I still think that's unlikely to.
that's so risky for them. But it is
Right
exciting.
before Eternal Weekend, unrestrict
Let's
channel.
unrestrict channel.
Just give everyone like a week and a half to test it, and then the tournament. That'd be so much fun.
That would be. I think that would be an exciting element to add to an event. and I like chaos, so that
Yeah.
would be enjoyable for me.
It
But
doesn't even have to be channel, I guess. It could be anything. If they unrestricted anything like a week and a half before
yeah,
Eternal
Mox
Weekend, it
Emerald.
would be.
Yes.
Uh,
I
yeah.
agree. I don't think they will do anything at all.
Mhm.
I think I would like to see Monastery Mentor and Narset unrestricted. Maybe
Yep.
not both at the same time.
Yeah,
Because
we'll just
obviously
do
then
one probably. Yeah.
you could then just put both in the same deck. And I probably would unrestrict Mentor before Narset, actually. But yeah,
Mhm.
that probably doesn't surprise anyone who knows me. I have played a lot of Monastery Mentor in my life. But also, I think Narset, like, the lock piece element,
Mhm.
the draw lock is quite unpleasant gameplay wise, and yeah, I mean, I guess Hull Breach is legal, but yeah, I don't want to get too deep on that. I think it's unlikely they do anything realistically though.
I would probably unrestrict Narset first myself. A lot of
Okay.
just because a lot of the Luris decks. So just looking at here, we've got Luris PO. The key card here is for paradoxical outcomes. Demir Luris control, Esper Luris control. You're drawing cards with Psychic Frog. Luris Breach kind of gets around this because that one's got stock up in Gifts and Given, so we'll give this one a pass. But Narset attacks these three, I think, a lot better. I think if people were going to like brew kind of like a bigger deck that wasn't like a combo deck, but sort of like a mid-ranger control deck, I think Narset might give them more play to for people to figure that out, which would be my reason for going for that one.
I think that there are a lot more creatures in the format generally as well, which makes Narset weaker than it used to be.
Yes.
Like when Narset was legal previously, I think, well, a lot of that, well, some of that time was certainly like when Khan was also legal as a 4 of, things like that. And now there are cards like obviously that's a certain sort of format. Now the format is much more like creature focus with Frog, right? You could quite easily kill Narset if you just attack it and discard a couple of cards. You kill it, your draw trigger goes in the stack, and you still draw a card.
That's true.
Like, Orcish Bowmasters is legal, which is really good at pressuring Narset. Like, Narset sees basically no play in Legacy anymore, whereas it used to see a reasonable amount of play, and that's because of things like Orcish Bowmasters, I think.
Yeah.
Same for Teferi in Legacy. Like,
I think
Orcish
it's a
Bowmasters
very
really
safe
pushed it out.
unrestriction. Like
Yeah.
it might not even
Yeah.
be powerful enough to really compete.
No, I would agree.
But if you think about it, even Mentor, like in that sense, you need to make space for Mentor, right? So you need to cut stuff and probably have to start touching creature to add another creature that close the game relatively quickly. But so we'll have to probably make some interesting choice if you go for Mentor. And I don't know, I mean, Frog is such an incredible card. Are you going to
Yeah, Frog is
cut
not.
Frog?
I think it's a completely different deck in my mind.
Yeah,
like,
it will
Frog,
change
like,
completely the way that the deck
You think you'd play Mentor and Frog together?
No, I wouldn't. Like Mentor when I was playing it previously, almost felt like if you could play it early, it felt like Tinker that they couldn't Flusterstorm or Pyroblast. It was like, oh, I'm gonna kill you right now, and yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas Frog is like an inheritor of, I'm gonna say a bad word, an inheritor of like Xerox, Tempo, like Protect the Queen in my mind. Whereas Mentor is not that. Mentor is more like a big mana combo kill card.
Okay, and last, I guess, little bit before we sign off here, just in theory, let's say they do actually ban Luris, just, going crazy here.
Yeah.
What do you think the meta would look like? What do you think would actually change here?
I would expect a lot more people to register card Tinker.
Yes.
Like, a lot more people. I think I would register Tinker. And there would be like a resurgence of that older, like, Esper Tinker style build of deck, I would guess, because that's the last time that deck was really good. And it's pretty, like, straightforward. And I mean, people would own the cards as well, because it's vintage. Like, the people who have Luris deck probably own Esper Tinker because it's just a bunch of generic vintage cards. So I would assume you'd see some sort of resurgence like that, and then you might see like an Oko, like 3-drop resurgence bug deck as well. People might play that with Frog, and maybe that becomes the de facto Frog deck.
Yeah, I think there'd be more Tinker for sure. I think a lot of decks would remove Lures, put in Tinker, put in Demonic Tutor, Vampiric, and I don't know, Citadel, and you get a deck that's
Yeah.
still very good. I think you'd see more Nadu. I think Nadu's pretty reasonable in
Mm.
Vintage, but it's not worth not playing Laris in my opinion.
Yeah. And you see
Yeah.
more Feto Alchemist, definitely.
I hope so. um,
Yeah,
I think I would be tempted to play if they actually banned Loris before Eternal Weekend. I
Mhm.
would be quite tempted just to run a Feto Alchemist Nadu because
I think it'd be very solid, and you could play Tinker in
it's
that deck
completely
too. I've done that before.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead,
you have
Sam.
the surprise effect
Oh yeah,
in that sense. Yeah, but to be fair, like let's be honest, like it seems really, really, really unlikely they're gonna touch anything in Vintage
oh
like before
definitely.
the Eternal Weekend.
I'd be shocked if they actually do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, it'll
Um,
be exciting. I
it would
think
be
again,
exciting,
I
yeah.
think I like change,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I would be like, sweet, this is really cool. We're gonna think about something new. But I'm also very happy with my list for Vintage,
Mhm.
and I enjoy the games, so I wouldn't like it. It wouldn't matter. Like whereas for Legacy, it's like, yeah, I've got a couple of lists I want to play. I don't want to spend time practicing because I don't enjoy it, and like I'd rather like I'm considering if they don't make any changes, just like refunding my ticket and playing side events and playing something else because Legacy is just so uninteresting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think you're not the only person in that boat from what I've been reading. So
okay.
I really do hope they add some excitement in the next couple of weeks, and but we will see.
Yeah. Well, we play this super high roller vintage event. Ooh.
Is there a super high roller? Is that the one like where you can win a Mox?
Yeah, it's like a €150 entry on the Saturday, I
Are you
think.
gonna do that?
I'm kind of leaning towards not playing Legacy and playing that event. Yeah.
That's a fun one. And that's a fun event. I mean,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
okay. Simo, are you going to Eternal Weekend?
Yes, yes, yes. I'll be going and I'll be playing Legacy.
Very nice.
I have a deck in mind at the moment, but there's a big question mark on it that we've discussed a lot in the last hour. So yeah, it will all depends because it's one of those that if you ban the ring, everything
Mhm.
fell apart. So
Oh, you want to play a ring deck? So
I play a ring deck. I'm
okay.
testing a ring deck and I'm playing a ring deck. So that's the current my go-to.
Mhm.
If things goes, so if the ring goes, probably as we say, it really depends on what's gonna happen in the if they ban all the 4 or 5 cards that we mentioned. I generally think it would be one between blue red or something because it's a very early meta and unknown meta, something
Mhm.
quite linear. I mean, show and tell is always like an easy pick in that sense because you know what you're doing and they're probably not going to
Stock
ban
up show
anything.
and tell.
Yeah, you have
Everyone's
stock
scared
up
of
your
that.
show and tell. Yeah,
I don't think
so
there's no way they ban that.
no, no,
Like
I would
yeah.
be.
I think more Orcish Masters decks I would expect as well,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything any links or anything you both want to plug before we call it a day here?
If you want to find me, I'm most active on Blue Sky at franciskuiper.bluesky.social. And I've got, various links and things on there if you want to find me elsewhere on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. But I don't make a lot of content, but there it is.
You do put on some good tournaments though.
I do run tournaments. The links to that are also in my Blue Sky description. But yeah, I run vintage tournaments in London a couple of times a year. I do the back end for the Legacy monthly events, and there's like a quarterly pre-modern event I do the back end for as well. So yeah, various things. But that's all available on my account description on Blue Sky.
Yeah, for me, like I am Comix84 on X and Blue Sky and MTGO and a lot of other places probably. Comics with an X. And that's basically the easiest way to get in touch with me. If you like collectibles, I've opened not long ago an Instagram account that just literally stuff that I love to collect and amass in my little study until my wife decided there's going to be a big bonfire. And that's manachess.tcg on Instagram.
Okay. I didn't know you had that. I'll have to check that out myself.
It's relatively new. It's as I said, until I can keep collecting the space in the room. So not for long, probably.
All right. Thanks both. Bye.
Thank you very much.